Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, I'm Savistka Bintang Savana from paper presentation class. And in this special occasion, I will present my paper entitled Korean Pop, Indonesian Non-Fans Perception Towards Indonesian K-Pop Fans Behavior. But before we get into the presentation, I will first tell you about what I'm going to explain in this presentation. The first part is introduction. The second part is literature review. The third part is research methods. The fourth part is result. The fifth part is discussion. And the last part is conclusion. Now let's begin with the first part, which is introduction. South Korea's culture has been spread across the globe since the early 2000s. It is first spread in the neighboring countries like China and Japan. It is spread by its travel, food, fashion, music, and television series. Then, it is widely known from its Korean Idol performance and music video. It is also gaining immense popularity in Indonesia on 2011, but at that time it is hard for them to access about Korea. But as time goes by, the technologies are sophisticated and it's easy for them to access about Korea, and for Korean culture itself, it is easy for them to spread via social media. As a proof is an article from the Jakarta Post written by Nino Manwira is an application called Blip for Korean fans prove that Indonesian fans contributed on views in YouTube around 2.62 billion of views. Another article from the Jakarta Post shows the statistic on Twitter that Indonesia placed third the largest volume of K-pop related tweets, right behind Thailand and South Korea in the first and second place. K-pop fans gathered in a community, and it is called as a fandom. A study is analyzing about fandom, but it is mostly talks about hardcore K-pop fans. Is a study from Williams and Kinho. In their study, it is mentioned that they analyze about the level devotion of K-pop fans in Singapore through social media Facebook. But there were a few studies about non-fans perception towards K-pop fans' behavior on social media. Therefore, because there were many people who use social media, they must be encountered K-pop content and K-pop fans itself, especially on how K-pop fans behave on Twitter. In this case, we will know about how non-fans' perception towards K-pop fans' behavior in social media. Now let's move to the next part, which is literature review. According to Yoon, on his study, Transnational Fandom in the Making, K-pop fans in Vancouver, showed that there are initial distance between fan and fan object, K-pop fans in Vancouver, which made them need to access the idol's content through fan translation networks. And because of the language barrier, it is also said that K-pop fans in Vancouver is coping through being stereotyped by the public of Canadians about K-pop fans, and K-pop is a subcultural form for them to detour from the dominant American music. Another study is from Williams and Kinho, is Sasengpan or Korean fan, Singapore Youth Authentic Identities, and Asian Media Fandom. They point out that fandom plays a significant role of K-pop music success. And in a fandom, Fans usually gathered to celebrate idol's birthday and making their own event, and there are festivals and they gather to watch concerts together. Also, they find out that fans use social media to stay in touch with their idols and to communicate with other fans to discuss what will they practice towards the idols. They analyzed about hardcore K-pop fans and practice towards idols is what hardcore fans of Korean fans do. Now let's move to the next part, which is research methods. Is the researcher used quantitative methods with questionnaire as the instrument to find out Indonesian non-fans perception towards Indonesian K-pop fans behavior in social media. The questionnaire is provided through Google Form. The participants were students and professionals ranging from 17 till 40 years old and at least know K-pop in general. There are 276 participants in total. The researcher shares her survey via her Twitter account. There are 5 responses, but the responses are grouped for strongly agree and agree, as well as strongly disagree and disagree. Now we move to the result part. And in this table, it is provided K-pop fans behavior on social media, specifically on Twitter. And I will read it to you, the choices that is dominating against the other choices. The first statement is that K-pop fans are easily identifiable by their profile photos, with 89.4% of the participants chooses agree. The second statement is that K-pop fans are easily identifiable by their entertainment preferences, with 68% of the participants chooses agree. The third statement is that K-pop fans are usually connected through fandom, with 85.4% of the participants chooses agree. The fourth statement is that K-pop fans usually share and upload a huge amount of Hallyu content, with 81.1% of the participants chooses agree. And the fifth statement is that K-pop fans' behavior on social media is friendly for other users, and there are no much differences between agree and neutral choice. Agree choice with 48.7% and neutral choice with 44%. Then, the sixth statement is that K-pop fans' behavior on social media is well-mannered, and 61.2% of the participants chooses neutral. The seventh statement is that K-pop fans usually mad when someone criticizes their idols, with 86.2% of the participants chooses agree. The eighth statement is that K-pop fans are usually fanatics towards their idols, with 72% of the participants chooses agree. The ninth statement is that K-pop fans willing to sacrifice anything to support their idols, with 70.9% of the participants chooses agree and the rest chooses neutral and disagree. The 10th statement is that K-pop fans' behavior on social media is too much, with 54% or 54.6% of the participants chooses agree. And the 11th statement is that K-pop fans' behavior on social media is uncritical, with 50.9% of the participants chooses agree. The 12th statement is that K-pop fans' behavior on social media shows a disturbance for other users. And the dominating choices is neutral with 47.3%. The next part is a discussion. This study showed non-fans' perception toward K-pop fans and how Indonesian non-fans' perception towards K-pop fans' behavior on social media. The researcher found that non-fans agree that K-pop fans are uncritical when it comes to their idols, The researcher also found that non-fans knew that K-pop fans were gathered in a fandom to communicate with each other and has their own activities to support their idols. It has similarity with previous study from Yoon on transnational fandom in the making, K-pop fans in Vancouver, that K-pop fans seeking their fan identity through social media, and social media has become integral component for global K-pop fans because they facing language barrier and it is hard for them to understand Korean language because they haven't studied it before. Also, previous study by Williams and Kinho on Saseng fan or K-pop fan, Singapore used authentic identities and Asian media fandom, mentioned that K-pop fans stigmatized negative by the media because of the hardcore K-pop fans. Also, K-pop fans used social media to interact with their idols and communicate with other fans. Now we move to the last part, which is conclusion. From the study, it is revealed that non-fans mostly are familiar with K-pop fans' behavior because they have encountered a massive amount of K-pop fans before and know K-pop in general. Such behavior like K-pop fans uses their idol photo for their profile photos, K-pop fans gathered in a fandom. Non-fans think that not all K-pop fans cause disturbance for other users, and non-fans think that not all K-pop fans are well-mannered. It is also revealed that non-fans think that K-pop fans' behavior is too much when they got fanatics and willing to sacrifice anything for their idols. Hence, non-fans felt annoyed, pitied them, and bored because the large amount of K-pop content passing through their timelines and dominating everywhere. Through their mutuals, that is K-pop fans, and through Memphis, which someone could send message to others without revealing their true identity. And so this caused some of the non-fans to mute K-pop related words. Based on the result of this study, it is recommended that non-fans' perception towards K-pop fans' fanaticism and their idols as represented in both daily and social life. It is also recommended to use qualitative, use interview to capture the fanaticism of K-pop fans in both online and offline environments. That's it for my presentation. Thank you for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.